Chosen one, you were not drawn here by accident. Heaven has aligned this moment for you. There is a reason your spirit felt the pull to press play, because this message carries a decree directly from the throne. This is not entertainment. This is a transmission, a prophetic download from the realm where God's plans are written and sealed. You have been walking through resistance that makes no logical sense, opposition that appears disproportionate to your actions. But the Spirit of God says, it is not random. You are being opposed because you carry an agenda that threatens the corruption embedded in high places. This message was timed for your awakening, because the invisible conspiracy against you is not about you. It's about the plan you represent. You are heaven's strategy in motion. The decree has been released. Corrupt governments and decaying systems are trembling because divine authority is being reactivated in the earth. They fear what you carry, not because of who you are in the flesh, but because of what you represent in the spirit. A shift of power ordained before the foundation of the world. You are part of heaven's invasion into systems of control. When Daniel entered Babylon, he wasn't there to blend in. He was there to challenge the spiritual architecture behind the empire. The same pattern is now repeating. You are standing in the same tension between divine instruction and political resistance. Stay with me until the end. This revelation carries your next divine instruction. Heaven is about to unveil the pattern behind your opposition. Chosen one, before we proceed, take this moment as an act of faith. Declare your alignment with heaven by writing the phrase, "I stand," in the comments below. Let that be your public covenant that you will not bow to fear or manipulation. When you declare it, heaven records your agreement. And as you do, like and subscribe, not as routine, but as a prophetic act of alignment with divine truth. Each connection of faith strengthens the sound of heaven on earth. Now, listen carefully. What you're about to hear will expose the invisible war surrounding your calling. Every word that follows carries weight. This is not information. This is activation. Before we go further, I must reveal something essential to your preparation. The Manual of God's Chosen Warrior, a step-by-step guide to prosperity, was written as a divine extension of this mission. It is not merely a book, it's a strategy, 10 spiritual and practical steps to activate the flow of heaven's abundance in your life. Prosperity is not luxury. It is provision for leadership. Get your copy using the link in the description or in the first comment of the video. This is your next step in obedience. Every form of sabotage against you, chosen one, has one objective: to disrupt divine order. What you are facing is not just personal resistance, it is systemic opposition. The enemy has embedded his influence in structures, using corrupted governance to suppress those who carry heavenly blueprints. When Pharaoh enslaved Israel, his intent was not only to use their labor, it was to suppress the prophetic DNA that could rebuild nations. Likewise, the modern powers that rise against you fear your insight, your integrity, and your capacity to reform. They are not threatened by talent. They are threatened by divine truth embodied in a vessel of obedience. You are that vessel. You are not fighting for survival. You are fighting for God's plan to remain intact in a generation that has compromised truth for comfort. The true battle is not between politicians and parties. It is between systems of control and the kingdom of God. The spirit of the world seeks to centralize authority, to manipulate conscience, and to silence prophetic influence. But the kingdom of heaven decentralizes power. It releases wisdom to the faithful, strength to the humble, and vision to the pure. This is why the chosen are under attack, because your authority is not earned by position, but received by covenant. You were born to govern through service, not to dominate through deception. The systems of this world know that when the sons and daughters of God awaken, they lose their grip. You are part of the generation sent to replace human control with divine governance. Corrupt governments are not a new concept. They are ancient structures animated by spiritual darkness. Egypt, Babylon, Rome, each represented a different form of tyranny, yet all shared the same essence: rebellion against divine order. The modern world wears different symbols, but the same forces still operate behind the curtain: greed, manipulation, deceit, and fear. In every age, God raises reformers from within the system to expose its corruption. Daniel interpreted the dreams of kings. Joseph restructured the economy of Egypt. Esther disrupted genocide through divine wisdom. Each one infiltrated an empire, not to enjoy its luxury, but to redeem its destiny. And now, heaven is calling you into the same lineage of reformers. You were never meant to escape the world's systems. You were sent to reform them. The sabotage you feel is a sign that you are already inside the territory that darkness wants to protect. The system attacks what it fears losing. When you stand in truth, you become a disruptor of corruption. The enemy doesn't waste energy on the complacent. He targets the obedient. Every closed door, every sudden betrayal, every attempt to silence your voice has been orchestrated to break your confidence. But heaven says, do not interpret rejection as failure. Interpret it as protection. You are being preserved to lead when the system collapses. God has hidden you, not forgotten you. Corruption fears integrity, because integrity cannot be manipulated. Systems built on deceit collapse when confronted by one uncompromised voice. That is why the attacks against you are psychological, emotional, and even financial. The enemy seeks to drain your focus so you cannot build. But every test of endurance is preparing you for dominion. Daniel faced the lions because he refused to negotiate truth. Joseph endured the dungeon because he would not betray his purity, and both ended up governing the very systems that tried to destroy them. Chosen one, the battle you face today is the training ground for your governmental authority tomorrow. The very forces that conspired to break you will become the stage where God proves you. Resistance, therefore, is not punishment. It is proof of relevance. If you were insignificant, no system would care to oppose you. Heaven often allows opposition to reveal your capacity to carry weight. The throne is not given to those who avoid pressure. It is entrusted to those who endure it without losing alignment. Every challenge you face is a measurement of how much authority you can handle. This is why your pain is prophetic. It's a signal that your next level of leadership is being activated. When you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is being built in me?" you transition from survival to governance. Corruption is not only a moral failure, it is a spirit of rebellion against divine design. It operates wherever humans attempt to replace God with control. It can sit in palaces, parliaments, corporations, or even religious institutions. Its language is fear. Its method is compromise. But the chosen one speaks a different tongue, the language of faith, order, and truth. You have been sent to expose corruption not through accusation, but through example. Your discipline is your weapon. Your integrity is your sword. Every time you choose principle over convenience, you strike a blow against darkness. Your obedience is legislative. It changes atmospheres. To discern corruption, you must see beyond policy and politics. The spirit of discernment is both prophetic and practical. It reveals not just what is happening, but why. When you see a law that oppresses truth, discern the spirit behind it. When you see leaders that manipulate faith for power, recognize the spirit they serve. God is giving you sight beyond headlines to perceive the invisible strategies at work behind human decisions. This is prophetic intelligence, and it is essential for those called to govern. Discernment is not paranoia, it is divine vision. You cannot reform what you do not recognize. Isolation is one of the enemy's oldest tactics. When Jezebel sought to silence Elijah, she drove him into the wilderness. When systems fear your influence, they push you into silence through fatigue or discouragement. But solitude with God is not defeat. It is refinement. While you think you are hidden, heaven is sharpening your words and your will. The system may isolate you, but God uses the silence to forge strategy. Chosen one, do not mistake divine concealment for abandonment. The strongest leaders in Scripture were formed in hidden places before confronting kings. The resistance you feel is divine training. Authority without endurance is dangerous. God allows confrontation so that your spirit learns the rhythm of heaven's governance. You are not called to react. You are called to rule. To rule is to remain unshaken when chaos surrounds you. The battlefield is not always physical. It's in the decisions you make under pressure. When you choose righteousness over retaliation, you ascend in spiritual rank. The test you are enduring now is building the infrastructure of your inner government. Now, the time of exposure has begun. Heaven is revealing the agendas hidden beneath political rhetoric and global manipulation. The systems that seemed untouchable are beginning to fracture under the weight of their own lies. The prophets of this generation are not merely preachers. They are reformers, strategists, and builders. You are one of them. Your discernment is part of heaven's intelligence network. When you speak, systems tremble because you speak from another realm. This is the hour when the chosen rise, not to fight men, but to dismantle the principalities that speak through them. The season of passivity is over. You were never called to be a spectator of corruption. You were sent to be a legislator of righteousness. The attacks were meant to make you silent, but silence now would be disobedience. Heaven is not looking for the comfortable. It is summoning the courageous. The same spirit that raised Daniel in Babylon is stirring within you. You are not being punished by resistance. You are being promoted by it. Every attempt to sabotage you has only confirmed your divine position. The time has come to govern. As you advance, the opposition intensifies. Not because you are failing, but because you are ascending. Every spiritual promotion provokes a reaction in the natural realm. The darkness that once ignored you now recognizes your authority. You are walking in a level of discernment that threatens hidden powers. That is why the pressure feels heavier, why relationships shift, why familiar places suddenly feel hostile. The system is trying to reassign your identity, to convince you that you are too small to confront it. But the Spirit of God says, do not bow to intimidation. When Jesus stood before Pilate, he did not plead for validation. He stood as king before a corrupt system and remained silent, because truth needs no defense. The same authority dwells in you now. Chosen one, understand this. Sabotage is confirmation. The moment you became aware of your purpose, the enemy drafted a counter-strategy. Opposition is the evidence that heaven has endorsed your mission. The greater the resistance, the greater the influence your obedience will carry. The enemy does not attack the irrelevant. He attacks those who carry a word that can reorder nations. The warfare surrounding your life is proportional to the destiny upon it. When systems conspire against you, do not retreat. Interpret it as proof that your presence is reforming invisible laws. You are disrupting the flow of darkness, and heaven is backing your courage with divine reinforcement. Look around you, and you will see the signs of this transition. The political instability, the moral confusion, the decay of integrity, all of it is evidence that the kingdoms of this world are trembling under divine intervention. The shaking is not destruction, it is purification. God is removing counterfeit thrones to make space for His chosen rulers. The chaos you see is the collapse of counterfeit order. You were born for this hour, to interpret the chaos, to bring counsel where fear reigns, and to speak with the clarity of heaven. As Daniel read the writing on the wall, so you are called to interpret the handwriting of this generation. The system's confusion is your platform. There is a divine convergence unfolding, a crossing of spiritual and political lines. For too long, the Church has separated the sacred from the governmental, but God never intended such division. His kingdom governs every domain: law, finance, culture, and leadership. You are not just an intercessor. You are an ambassador. Your prayer must produce policy. Your revelation must produce reform. This is what the enemy fears most, when revelation becomes legislation. You are not waiting for permission to act. Heaven has already authorized your influence. Step into it with reverence and wisdom, knowing that your decisions are decrees in disguise. Governance begins with awareness. The first territory you are called to rule is your own mind. Confusion is the shadow of illegitimate power. The enemy knows that if he can cloud your clarity, he can suspend your authority. That is why discernment is essential. When you understand the patterns of manipulation, you strip the enemy of his camouflage. A chosen one who thinks clearly cannot be controlled. The clarity of your spirit is your greatest weapon. Ask God daily to align your perception with truth. For where there is divine understanding, there is dominion. When you see through the fog, you begin to legislate light. Heaven is forming alliances among the faithful, divine networks of influence that cannot be corrupted by ambition or fear. Across nations, God is connecting reformers who hear the same frequency of truth. You are not alone in this battle. You are part of a global movement of hidden rulers rising in silence. These are men and women who do not seek applause, but alignment. God is joining them strategically. Teachers, entrepreneurs, artists, policymakers, each carrying a fragment of the divine strategy. When these fragments connect, the system of darkness will lose its cohesion. The enemy's strength lies in division. Heaven's strength lies in unity. Stay alert for those sent to align with your mission. You are being prepared for confrontation, not one fought with weapons, but with wisdom. The greatest revolutions begin with revelation. God is arming you with insight that will dismantle deception. The confrontation ahead is not about proving who you are, but about demonstrating who God is through you. The corrupt systems that once intimidated you will soon recognize your authority. As Moses stood before Pharaoh, he did not come with negotiation, but with declaration. Thus says the Lord, "Let my people go." That same voice of decree is rising within you. You have been silent long enough. The time for divine confrontation has arrived. The hidden powers are now being exposed, chosen one. What once operated in secrecy is being brought into light. Political corruption media manipulation, and the twisting of moral laws. These are not coincidences. They are coordinated spiritual operations designed to desensitize humanity. The spirit of deception hides behind professionalism, progress, and policies that appear harmless. But in truth, they are veils for control. The enemy is terrified of one thing: a human being fully awakened to divine authority. That is why your awakening has been fought so violently. Every whisper of doubt, every delay, every false accusation, all of it was orchestrated to make you question your discernment. But heaven declares, your perception has been accurate all along. You were not paranoid, you were prophetic. There is a war of words happening right now. A battle of narratives designed to determine who defines truth. The system's greatest weapon is misinformation, because whoever controls perception controls the future. This is why the prophetic voice must not remain silent. When you speak truth in love, you are not merely expressing opinion, you are releasing divine order into chaos. Jezebel's power rested in controlling speech, silencing prophets through fear and ridicule. The same spirit is alive today, operating through laws, platforms, and institutions. But every time you speak from revelation, you disrupt the atmosphere. Truth spoken with authority pierces through censorship. Your voice carries the frequency of heaven, and the enemy cannot replicate that sound. The spirit of Jezebel still sits on many thrones, seducing leaders with influence and promising power in exchange for compromise. She thrives where conviction has died. But the chosen one is immune to her manipulation, because his allegiance is not to opportunity, but to obedience. When Elijah confronted Jezebel's prophets, he didn't need a crowd. He needed courage. The same courage is being ignited in you now. The enemy wants to exhaust your faith so that you'll stop confronting corruption. But hear this: courage is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to obey it. Every time you choose to act in truth, the spirit of Jezebel loses ground. This is why you must stand. We are approaching the collapse of false thrones. Systems built on lies cannot endure the weight of truth. The Lord is shaking everything that can be shaken, not to destroy, but to purify. Governments that exalt themselves above divine justice will crumble from within. Hidden scandals will surface. Agendas masked as compassion will be exposed for manipulation. And while the world panics, the chosen ones will rise with calm authority, because they foresaw the shaking. You are being positioned to lead during collapse, to guide those who lose direction when false securities fail. The collapse of corruption is not the end of order. It is the beginning of divine government. Your courage is your weapon. Fear is the primary language of corrupt systems. It keeps people obedient to lies. But faith dismantles fear's logic. When you stand firm in peace while the world panics, you become a signal of the kingdom. Courage is not loud. It is steady. It does not need applause. It carries conviction. When David faced Goliath, his confidence was not in himself, but in covenant. That same assurance now rests upon you. Heaven equips you not with arrogance, but with bold humility. You do not need to shout to demonstrate power. Your stillness under pressure terrifies darkness. Every act of faith is a declaration of war against fear. God is testing loyalty in this generation. The question is not whether you believe in Him, but whether you will remain faithful when obedience costs you comfort. Many claim to serve God until their assignment threatens their reputation or income. But the chosen one is different. You understand that favor with heaven is worth more than favor with men. Daniel refused to bow, even when it meant the lion's den. That same choice stands before you. You are being tested. Will you serve the system or the kingdom? The test is not designed to break you, but to reveal what governs you. When you choose loyalty to God over convenience, heaven responds with visible authority. The tide is turning. What was once used to limit you is now being repurposed to launch you. The exposure of darkness marks the transition of dominion. Corrupt systems are losing their grip because the decree of heaven has gone forth. God is transferring influence to those who govern with integrity. Thrones of deception are being emptied so that righteous leaders can rise. The transition may look chaotic, but it is divine strategy. You have been trained in silence for such a time as this. Heaven is realigning power, and the decree has already been signed in the Spirit. The kingdoms of this world shall become the kingdoms of our Lord. Stand firm, chosen one. You are witnessing prophecy unfold through your obedience. Heaven has issued a decree, chosen one. The scroll of divine authority is unsealed, and it carries your name within its lines. This is not symbolic. It is a real transfer of influence taking place in both the spiritual and natural realms. The time for hidden preparation is concluding, and the time for visible governance has begun. God is repossessing territories once ruled by corruption and handing them to His faithful ones. Every injustice you endured, every delay you faced, was not wasted. It was divine incubation. The shaking you've survived was the sound of thrones being rearranged. You were being positioned for an era where integrity will be the highest currency. Those who built their empires on deception will soon witness the rise of those who built on truth. There is a divine transfer of authority happening now. The systems that mocked righteousness are about to depend on it for survival. When Pharaoh needed a solution, he called Joseph. When Babylon fell into confusion, it sought Daniel. When nations fall into moral decay, they will seek the counsel of the chosen. You are that counsel. Heaven has been cultivating your wisdom for this moment. Do not be intimidated by the magnitude of what's coming. Your preparation has matched your purpose. The world is not descending into chaos. It's being restructured for divine leadership. Every realm, politics, business, media, culture, will feel the shift. God is enthroning integrity where manipulation once reigned. The repossession of influence will not happen through violence, but through wisdom. Heaven is raising reformers disguised as professionals, prophets disguised as policymakers, and kings disguised as servants. You are part of that covert operation of light. God's strategy is infiltration, not isolation, as Joseph governed Egypt without losing his purity. So you are called to lead without compromising truth. The old systems will try to recruit you, to offer comfort in exchange for silence. But remember this: compromise is the currency of corruption. Your voice carries a higher value. It legislates heaven's will. The transfer of power will not come through ambition, but through alignment. Justice is now being restored. The scales of heaven are tilting back toward balance. The prayers of generations are converging into this era where righteousness becomes the new foundation for governance. Corruption can only rule where truth is absent. Now, truth is returning as a force, not merely as a concept. You are being entrusted with authority because you have proven faithful in obscurity. While others built platforms, you built character. While they sought attention, you sought alignment. And now, God rewards faithfulness with influence. The righteous will not remain silent in the back rooms. They will be seated at the tables where decisions are made. Your words, chosen one, carry more power than you realize. In this season, heaven will respond to your decrees. When you speak in alignment with God's will, your words become law in the Spirit. The earth recognizes the voice of divine authority. This is why the enemy worked so hard to silence you, because he knew your words would shape realities. Guard your speech. Use it with precision. Decree restoration where there has been ruin. Declare order where there is confusion. When you speak from revelation, angels execute your sentences. Every decree of righteousness dismantles an infrastructure of darkness. Speak boldly, for you have heaven's backing. Your voice is not just for prayer, it is for governance. You have been authorized to legislate spiritual law over territories, families, and even institutions. When Daniel prayed, he wasn't begging. He was aligning heaven and earth. You are called to do the same. Each word you speak in faith carries judicial weight in the unseen realm. Hell trembles when you speak what God has already decreed. Do not underestimate the reach of your voice. It echoes through systems and alters atmospheres. Heaven is waiting for your sound, not your silence. Rise and speak as one who represents a higher kingdom. Now, the veil over deception is being torn. Manipulation will lose its grip as truth gains momentum. The systems that relied on secrecy will crumble under exposure. You will see sudden shifts, leaders resigning, agendas collapsing, hidden documents surfacing, not by coincidence, but by divine orchestration. The light is no longer negotiable. God is reclaiming every sphere of influence where His name was mocked. This is the hour of unveiling. The counterfeit will be revealed, and the authentic will rise. Chosen one, do not fear the exposure. Celebrate it. For it is the proof that heaven has begun cleansing the thrones of the earth. Heaven is repositioning its representatives across the earth. You are part of a divine redistribution of influence that no election or institution can stop. The kingdoms of this world are being recalibrated for the emergence of righteous governance. Across industries, ministries, and nations, God is placing His chosen men and women in strategic seats of power. You might not carry a title, but you carry a throne, one built on obedience and vision. Your workplace is not merely a job, it is an embassy. Every boardroom, classroom, and government hall where you stand becomes an altar. You are not there by accident, you were assigned. Heaven plants reformers in unexpected places because divine transformation always begins from within the system. Justice is the foundation of every divine government, and heaven is now restoring it in the earth. What looks like chaos in human systems is actually correction in divine timing. God is exposing those who built empires on injustice, who traded truth for gain. The cries of the oppressed have reached heaven's courts, and the gavel of divine judgment has fallen. But even as judgment unfolds, mercy is being extended through reformers like you. Your mission is not revenge, but restoration. You are called to rebuild what corruption has destroyed, to demonstrate that righteousness is not weakness. It is strength, refined by love. When you lead with purity, nations find healing through your example. Understand this: your words are decrees, not opinions. When you speak in alignment with heaven, your declarations shape policies, shift outcomes, and dismantle false authority. This is the mystery of divine government. The chosen do not wait for permission to speak. They legislate by revelation. When Joseph spoke before Pharaoh, his words became national law. When Esther decreed freedom, the empire reversed its own command. Your voice carries that same legislative power. Do not underestimate it. Speak with precision. Speak with weight. For when a chosen one opens their mouth under the Spirit's unction, heaven moves and hell retreats. Chosen one, your voice is now a divine instrument. Idle speech is no longer acceptable. Every word must carry the weight of heaven's purpose. This is the era where silence is strategic and speech is legislative. God is training your tongue to speak not from emotion, but from revelation. Your authority will be recognized not in how often you speak, but in how accurately. You are being shaped to dismantle propaganda, not by argument, but through the consistent release of truth. As you remain focused amid distractions, your discipline will silently subvert dark agendas. This is how systems shift, not through chaos or noise, but through a steady stream of righteousness governed by discernment and spiritual timing. Your vision is being sharpened for reformation, not just awareness. God is revealing patterns behind world events and showing you what others ignore. The clarity you are receiving will bring discomfort, but it will also empower you to lead with courage and precision. Fear will fade as you see that heaven's armies far outweigh the opposition. You are being positioned not just for spiritual insight, but for societal influence, to confront corruption and rebuild systems with divine wisdom. Prosperity is coming not for indulgence, but for infrastructure. The kingdom's resources are aligning with your mission, empowering you to lead with integrity, govern with justice, and operate from abundance as a tool for reform, not status. This is the rise of a new prophetic order of governance. Heaven is replacing self-promotion with divine promotion. Those overlooked in obscurity are being elevated into positions of strategic influence. You are one of them. Your leadership will not be built on charisma, but on consistency, not on popularity, but on purity. God is equipping you to legislate through your decisions, structure through your strategy, and restore through your authenticity. The transformation of nations is already underway, and you are part of heaven's solution. The kingdoms of this world are bowing to righteousness, and your very life is the fulfillment of divine policy. This is not a theory. It is your time to lead. Heaven has shifted you into activation. You are no longer waiting for permission. Divine authority has been issued. The systems that once mocked your obedience will soon require your leadership. What once seemed like sabotage will become the stage for your vindication. You're not rising by ambition, but by heavenly decree. Angels are now aligning with your words, and provision is being unlocked. As you walk in obedience, heaven multiplies your impact. Righteousness will now govern your decisions, and wisdom will shape your influence. You are being positioned as a reformer, not just for yourself, but for generations. You are stepping into a divine economy and governmental grace. The wealth of the wicked is being rerouted to fund kingdom reformers like you. As you align with heaven's order, strategies will emerge, economic, political, and spiritual. But this season requires focus. Not all open doors are divine. You must walk with discernment, steward influence with humility, and organize chaos with kingdom intelligence. Power without purity corrupts, but power with wisdom rebuilds. Your life will become a model of God's governance, one that reflects divine justice, precise leadership, and spirit-led boldness. This is stewardship for national impact, not personal applause. You are a builder, not just a believer. This moment demands execution, not delay. The time for hiding is over. It's time to legislate righteousness in every sphere you touch. Your alliances will shift. Your voice will carry more weight, and your presence will command order. Heaven is surrounding you with eternal thinkers, not ego-driven allies. you will rebuild what corruption tried to destroy. Systems will transform through your integrity, and generations will be shaped by your faith. You are part of heaven's rebuilding project. Your obedience is not just personal, it's architectural. This is legacy leadership. Walk forward, for the earth awaits your rule. Chosen one, this is your commissioning. Heaven is not asking for volunteers, it is calling for rulers. The time of waiting for external validation has ended. You are authorized to move, to build, to speak, to restore. The same authority that raised kingdoms and leveled empires now rests upon you. You were chosen not because you were perfect, but because you were available. You have endured what others could not, so you could carry what others cannot. Rise with humility, but lead with certainty. The seal of divine authority is upon you. Govern with grace, legislate with love, and reform with boldness. Heaven has refined you, not ignored you. Every hidden season, betrayal, and silent night was not abandonment. It was divine alignment. What seemed like delay was discipline, and what looked like rejection was redirection. God has removed your need for human validation so you could lead with focus, not dependence. The very stones thrown to hurt you became the building blocks of your foundation. Conspiracies strengthened your credibility. What was meant to destroy you elevated you. Now, the same systems that dismissed you will require your wisdom. The honor that was withheld is returning with interest. It is time to act. Authority is proven in execution, not theory. Govern your space with excellence. Bring divine order into human systems. Your anointing is not for show, it's for strategy. Move in faith even without perfect conditions. Your condition is favor. But be wise. Not every opportunity is divine. Discern the difference between true alignment and disguised distractions. Walk in strategy, not sympathy. Protect your vision. Guard your circle. Just like Nehemiah refused to leave the wall, you must guard your purpose from compromise. Your purity, your focus, and your integrity are your power. Now step into governance with intimacy. Influence must remain rooted in the presence. Stay near the fire that formed you. Your leadership will flow from proximity to God, not performance before men. Systems will shift, doors will open, and your influence will expand. Heaven is accelerating your mission with new strength and sharper discernment. The weariness will lift, and divine strategy will flow with ease. You are no longer a seed. You are a tree of governance. Nations will shelter under your wisdom. This is your legacy: to convert sabotage into structure, betrayal into blueprint, and prophecy into policy. You have entered the moment of divine fulfillment where what was once hidden is now being made manifest. Every closed door and delay was God's orchestration, aligning your timeline with heaven's decree. Like David, who was anointed in private before being enthroned in public, you are now stepping into a visible realm of purpose, power, and placement. The systems that once dismissed you will soon rely on your integrity. Heaven is not in a rush. Prophecy unfolds in perfect timing. Your rise has never been about status, but about carrying divine order into the world, with God refining your heart for rulership marked by rest, not reaction. As leadership shifts within you, external striving gives way to holy composure. You will rule not by chasing influence, but by embodying peace in chaos. Discernment will be your compass, guiding you away from counterfeit opportunities disguised as promotion. Heaven's doors will carry peace, not pressure. Influence without obedience leads to corruption, so your purity must remain your greatest strength. As God expands your reach spiritually, politically, and economically, your consistent obedience will cause nations to realign. Heaven's government will move through your words, your clarity, and your quiet faithfulness. Transformation will begin with small steps that echo across systems. Resources will now be drawn to your mission, not for luxury, but for legacy. Tools like the Manual of God's Chosen Warrior are not mere products, but instruments for activation, training you to lead with financial dominion through alignment, not ambition. You are not just stepping into prosperity, but into generational impact. Your leadership is part of a divine lineage of reformers who bridge prophecy with policy, heaven with earth. As your faithfulness is recorded in heaven, may the Lord expand your borders, shatter opposition, and send angels before you. This is your hour of elevation. Step forward, for the world awaits the leadership heaven has established in you. Chosen one, you have entered the hour of divine manifestation. What was once spiritual is now becoming visible. Heaven's decree over your life is materializing in real time. Every delay you endured was a synchronization of timing. Every closed door was divine redirection. The Lord did not withhold opportunity. He preserved you from premature exposure. You are now stepping into a realm where purpose, power, and position merge. The same God who anointed David in obscurity is now establishing your throne in visibility. The systems that once rejected you will soon depend on your integrity. Do not rush the unfolding. Prophecy is never in a hurry. It arrives exactly on schedule. You are entering a new rhythm of leadership. The frantic striving that once consumed you is being replaced with divine composure. Heaven leads through peace, not panic. You will govern from rest, not reaction. Your calm will become a signal of authority in chaotic environments. While others chase influence, you will attract it through stability. This is the secret of true rulership, to rule atmospheres before ruling people. God is refining your demeanor so that your presence commands honor without demanding it. You are learning that authority is silent strength, not loud insecurity. The world will begin to notice the serenity in your leadership, the evidence that heaven governs your spirit. The enemy's last strategy is subtlety, distraction disguised as opportunity. You must now protect your focus as your most valuable currency. Not every platform is promotion. Some are traps to dilute your anointing. Heaven will open doors that require discernment, not excitement. When your spirit feels peace, that is divine confirmation. When it feels pressure, that is a counterfeit. This is how the righteous navigate influence. Remember, the serpent offered Eve knowledge without obedience. The same temptation comes today as success without submission. You must remain anchored. Influence without alignment becomes corruption. Guard your soul, for your purity is your power. Heaven is now commissioning your expansion. You will enter new realms, spiritually, politically, and economically. The Lord is widening your borders so that His government may spread through you. What begins as personal favor will evolve into institutional influence. You will begin to see policies shift, communities realign, and systems reform simply because of your obedience. God does not need you to control outcomes. He only requires your consistency. As you act, heaven multiplies impact. You are stepping into a season where small acts of faith will trigger large-scale transformation. Move with precision, speak with clarity, and carry the confidence of one who represents a higher throne. The Lord is also commanding a new era of provision around your life. Resources are aligning with your mission, not for luxury, but for legacy. The ebook, Manual of God's Chosen Warrior, a step-by-step guide to prosperity, is not just a tool, it is an instrument of activation. This is your training manual for financial dominion under heaven's order. Every principle within it was designed to equip reformers like you to lead from overflow, not need. So get your copy using the link in the description or in the first comment of the video. This is your next step in obedience. Chosen one, as you step forward, remember that your leadership is not isolated. It is generational. The seeds you plant today will shape nations tomorrow. The prayers you whisper in private will echo through centuries. You are part of a divine continuum, a lineage of reformers who carried God's justice into the structures of men. Do not despise the days of small beginnings. They are the foundation of eternal legacies. Heaven measures success not by numbers, but by obedience. Each righteous decision you make rewrites the future. You are the bridge between prophecy and policy, between heaven's will and earth's reality. Walk in that awareness daily. And now, receive this blessing. May the Lord fortify your spirit and enlarge your influence. May your discernment pierce through deception, your words establish truth, and your hands build what heaven envisions. May every attempt of corruption against your destiny collapse under divine justice. As you move, may angels go before you, preparing the ground for governance and glory. This is your time of elevation, your hour of fulfillment. Step forward, leader, for heaven has recorded your obedience, and the earth is waiting for your rule. Like and subscribe as a prophetic act of agreement with this word. Comment "Divine Order" to seal this decree. You are no longer waiting for destiny, you are walking in it. Chosen one, this prophetic journey does not end here. It begins in you. If this message resonated, write "I govern under heaven" in the comments as an act of alignment. Like and subscribe, not as routine, but as a prophetic declaration that you are part of heaven's movement on earth. Support this channel through Buy Me a Coffee to sustain the mission of spreading divine governance to nations. The link is in the description. May the Lord bless your steps, fortify your voice, and surround your influence with fire. May every corrupt system that opposed you now serve your mission. May your words carry heaven's weight, and your decisions reflect divine wisdom. Go in strength, leader of light, for the government of God is upon your shoulders, and nations are waiting for your reign.